Today we're taking a look at a Team Rocket's Mewtwo EX deck profile. If you're like me, you love Mewtwo, it's one of your favorite Pokemon, so to see Pokemon release a somewhat competitive Mewtwo EX is very, very exciting. Now I say somewhat because, as you guys know, Team Rocket's Mewtwo EX is kind of the poster child of the new set Destined Rivals. However, it is a little bit underwhelming. Similar to how End's Zoroark EX wasn't exactly the pop-off deck with Journeys Together, Mewtwo EX also suffers the same kind of fate. However, it is still very, very fun to play, and if you're in a meta that really likes to go second, or if you're in a local scene that likes to go second a lot with those decks, this is a deck that really benefits from going first. It's more of a beatdown style of deck, so you're really just racing your opponent for those prize cards. What this deck does have going for it is it has some incredibly strong supporter cards, which are all sort of like a spec level supporters, and then you can search them out with an item card. Now I have been playing with this deck for about 2 to 3 weeks now, and I gotta say, I do have to admit there's some pretty bad weaknesses for this deck. If you're new to the channel, just real quick, welcome. My name is Christian. I'm a sponsored competitive Pokemon card player by the store Comfy Hobbies. If you guys buy Pokemon cards, feel free to check them out and use code SneakerTalk to save 5% off. And I play a lot of Pokemon. I attend like 3 to 4 local tournaments, maybe even more depending on the week, per week. I get a lot of practice with these kind of decks, especially the fun ones like this. If you guys want to see gameplay, however, in this video there won't be any gameplay. I'll have the dedicated video for gameplay uploaded later today or later in the week. So make sure you guys hit that like button so YouTube can recommend it to you. So kicking things off for the Pokemon, we actually have to proxy one Team Rocket's Mewtwo since I only own one copy of the actual card. So Team Rocket's Mewtwo EX is a really unique card. It's a basic Pokemon that has 280 HP. That is massive on a basic. I don't think we've seen that thick of a Pokemon in quite some time. Team Rocket's Mewtwo EX is meant for doing those big sort of one-hit KOs because you can hit up to 280 damage. So we have Eraser Ball for 2 Psychics and a colorless, or in this case, 1 Team Rocket's energy and a colorless energy. You do 160 damage base. And then it says here, you may discard up to 2 energy cards from your bench Pokemon. This attack does 60 more damage for each card you discarded this way. So you can do 220 damage, which is enough to knock out a lot of big basic EX Pokemon, or if you discard 2 energies, you do 280. 280 is a pretty solid number to hit, and if you are running maximum belts, you're going to be able to swing for 330, which would be enough to 1-hit KO all of those like big stage 2 Pokemon. Now, the effect of discarding energies is not that punishing because we do have the Team Rocket's Spidops, which gets to recharge itself of that energy once per turn. So once you have those set up, you're just able to consistently swing for 220 or 280 depending on how many Spidops are on your bench. 3 major drawbacks for Team Rocket's Mewtwo. First of all, the ability is brutal. Power Saver. It says this Pokemon can't attack unless you have 4 or more Team Rocket's Pokemon in play. So having to have a well-established bench just to be able to attack outside of the energy cost can become a pretty big hindrance in certain scenarios of the game. On top of that, we have a massive 3 retreat cost, which is painful. So you're gonna have to discard all the energies off of Team Rocket's Mewtwo if you want to retreat into something else and attack with it instead. So those are the things that really set it back, but again, it does have a massive 280 HP on a just basic Pokemon, which is really big, and you can actually combine the thickness of Mewtwo EX with an attacker like Wobbuffet, where you move the damage counters from your bench Team Rocket's Pokemon to your opponent's active. So we're not running the Wobbuffet in today's particular build, but there is a world where you can do that, and you can actually stack in a Bravery Charm on your Mewtwo EX to make it become a 330 HP Pokemon, which is the same as like a massive stage 2. And then the other big thing that really sets Team Rocket's Mewtwo EX back is the weakness to Dark. So we are going to easily get 1-hit KO'd by Dark Pokemon such as Roaring Moon EX, but more importantly, Grimmsnarl EX is a pretty big threat right now too, and it's going to be seeing a lot more play as this meta develops, as it is one of the best decks right now in the game. So if you are playing against Grimmsnarl, you're going to try and not bench the Mewtwo, because that's just a free 2 prizes you're going to be giving your opponent. Instead, we're going to be attacking mainly with the other Pokemon, which actually hits Grimmsnarl for weakness. So next up, we have 4 copies of Team Rocket's Tarountula. It has 50 HP, so it's on the weaker end for one of those baby basic Pokemon. We have the attack Takedown for 1 grass, you do 30, which is enough to knock out your opponent's Badoo or Cleffa if it comes down to it. 30 is a pretty substantial amount of damage at times because it could be the difference between knocking out or cleaning up a big 2-prize Pokemon or not by the end of the game. The downside to this attack is you have to take 10 damage to yourself for using the attack. It does have 1 retreat cost, which is pretty good, so you can do a simple attach retreat and then bring that energy onto the Spidops that you're evolving into. But yeah, we got 4 copies of Team Rocket's Tarountula. I would always run 4 copies of this card. You of course want to have your bench as full as possible, and Team Rocket's Tarountula gets out your Spidops as well, which is a huge main attacker and sort of like a power source for the Rocket's Mewtwo as well. So let's talk about Team Rocket Spidops, one of the best new Pokemon from Destined Rivals. You evolve from the Tarountula, you got 130 HP stage 1, you have the charging up ability. Once during your turn, you may attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to this Pokemon. So very similar to like a Dynamotor ability that was on Flaffy that we used to have in Miraidon, and it's a really strong ability, you know, just being able to charge up this Pokemon, and then all you need to do is attach a single energy for turn, or even have something like a Counter Gain on it, and your Spidops is off to the races and attacking. On top of that, we have the Rocket Rush attack for 1 grass, 1 colorless. You do 30 damage times the amount of Team Rocket's Pokemon in play. So it does cap out at 180 damage, which is going to be enough to knock out Pokemon such as Mew EX. You can also knock out things like Squawkabilly EX as well. And the fact that you're hitting 180 off of a stage 1 Pokemon that is really low maintenance, that doesn't really need too much to get attacking, is just really useful. So you could set up a 2-hit KO for your Mewtwo, or you could be using the Spidops to clean up a Pokemon that your Mewtwo wasn't able to 1-hit KO previously. The biggest draw that this card does have is its really strong ability, its really cheap attack, and of course you are hitting for weakness. Since you are a grass type Pokemon, you're going to be able to often 1-hit KO Pokemon such as Grimmsnarl EX or Charizard EX, and the list goes on. Next up, let's talk about another really strong attacker in this deck. We got Team Rocket's Mimikyu. This Pokemon helps you out so much in the Terra Box matchup, especially if you're fighting those evolutions that have that 280 1-hit KO attack. Team Rocket's Mewtwo for 1 Psychic and 1 Colorless, aka 1 Team Rocket's Energy, you get to copy your opponent's attack. So it's like Mew's EX genome hacking, but you can only copy Terra type Pokemon. Now, unfortunately, we aren't playing the Lily's Clefairy EX in this deck, so there are cases where you might want to run the Lily's Clefairy EX where you can just nest ball it out, and then Mimikyu can copy Dragapult EX for the 1-hit KO. But in this case, we don't have it. It's still really strong though, because you can copy all those great Terra attackers out there. Another really great thing about Team Rocket's Mimikyu is that it has free retreat. Having a free retreat pivot in this deck is very useful. Mimikyu is always a solid free retreat Pokemon you can pull out from your deck. Next up, we have Team Rocket's Zapdos. This card is very good because if you're playing against a deck that runs very low energy cards, you have this really strong attack, Jamming Wing. For double colorless, it says you may move an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon to one of their bench Pokemon. So it's essentially like a forced energy switch or a crushing hammer, depending on how you use this attack, because if you just move that important energy card to one of your opponent's more useless Pokemon, that effectively is discarding or removing that energy from that attacker and from play, making it a lot less of a threat. You also do 30 damage, which isn't super meaningful, but can be enough to help set up a bigger attack with either Mewtwo or of course your Spidops later on in the match. And we aren't running any lightning energies in this deck, so Wicked Thunder isn't a thing that comes up. It also has a 1 retreat cost as well, so it's nice to have not a massive thick retreater like Rocket's Mewtwo. And always do keep in mind too that Spidops does have a retreat cost of 2, so that can become annoying at times. This card can be taken out for some other cards if you want to flex around. You could easily swap this out for something like a Wobbuffet, and the list goes on. Alright, next up, we have Team Rocket's Murkrow. This card is very good against decks that have only 1 attack to choose from, or 1 attack that they really just want to keep using again and again rather than another. So we have the Torment attack for 1 Team Rocket's Energy. You do 30 damage, and it says choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon attacks, and during your opponent's next turn, that Pokemon can't use that attack. So Team Rocket's Murkrow has a really strong attack in terms of defensive capabilities. And then last but not least, the other legendary bird in this deck, we got Team Rocket's Articuno. This card is very important against Dragapult EX. It has a really strong defensive ability here, which is the only reason we're actually using this card in the deck. Repelling Veil. Prevent all effects of attacks used by your opponent's Pokemon done to your basic basic Team Rocket's Pokemon. So this means that if you have your little little Tarountulas on the board, or you have your Mewtwo that's weakened, or Murkrow, basically we're mainly just playing basic Pokemon other than our Spidops, that Articuno will just block that effect from happening, kind of like if there was a mist energy on that Pokemon. So you do want to be mindful about when you play these cards. These are sort of like tech cards. This is a tech attacker, this is a tech defense Pokemon. Next up, let's get to the energy cards. We have 4 copies of Team Rocket's energy. Of course, as you guys know, Double Turbo energy has rotated out, so this is the only form of double or 2 energies in the game right now. Other than this, we have the reversal energy. This energy counts as 2 psychic or 2 dark, which is really useful if you want to attack with Team Rocket's Mewtwo, if you also want to attack with Mimikyu. If you want to play the Team Rocket's Crobat deck, you can also use this as well. We got the Murkrow. It's just super good. Basic energy count, we have 6 grass energy. We always want to make sure that our Tarountulas are getting charged up and ready to attack. And of course, grass does fulfill the colorless attack requirement for a lot of our other Pokemon as well. So 6 copies of grass energy for this deck. For stadium cards, Team Rocket has introduced 2 really solid stadiums. So this deck, one of the biggest weaknesses to Team Rocket's Mewtwo EX is the lack of draw engine. We have no onboard draw, and that's because we have onboard energy acceleration and Spidops. So we have a lot of great supporters in this deck, but not all of them allow you to draw cards. So Team Rocket's factory says once during each player's turn, if they played a supporter that has Team Rocket in its name from their hand, this turn you may draw 2 cards. So basically this is a +2 draw, a pot of greed after you've played a supporter, which is really clutch. So we have 3 copies of Team Rocket's factory. However, the other stadium you might want to try around with is the Team Rocket's Watchtower, which says, I believe, all colorless Pokemon in play have no abilities. So very good if you're struggling against the Terra Box matchups out there, or the evolution decks out there. But honestly, the Mimikyu feels so good in that matchup. I feel like you don't need that Team Rocket's Watchtower. So Team Rocket's factory is just going to give you more consistency for draw across the board in all of the different matchups out there. And of course, Team Rocket's factory is a stadium that your opponent will most likely not be able to take advantage of. So just having a stadium that can bump one of your opponent's really good stadiums is really useful at all times of the game. For items, we have 4 copies of Buddy-Buddy Poffin. We just essentially want to flood our board as quick as we can with our Tarountulas, with our Mimikyu for Retreat Pivot, so our Mewtwo EX is able to attack, because of course, we always need to keep in mind we need 4 Team Rocket's Pokemon on our side in order to attack with Rocket's Mewtwo. So 4 Buddy-Buddy Poffin, 4 copies of Ultra Ball. The Ultra Ball is also a goated card in this deck, because if we have energies in our hand that we want to discard, such as the grass energies, we can discard the grass energies and then grab Spidops, and then we can charge up that Spidops with the exact grass energy that we discarded with the Ultra Ball. Just being able to grab on demand certain Pokemon that are above 70 HP that we need to get on the board for protection, like Articuno or even the Rocket's Mewtwo, which is very good. But in most cases, Ultra Ball is going to allow us to just grab our Spidops and also lower our hand size so we can draw more cards with a really good supporter we have in our deck, which we're going to talk about later. Next up is one of the best item cards in the game, and in this deck too, we got Team Rocket's Transceiver. It says search your deck for a supporter card with Team Rocket in its name. So that's not like a Pokegear 3.0, which benefits a lot of decks that have a weaker draw engine where you look at the top 7 and grab a supporter. Team Rocket's Transceiver straight up says grab the supporter you want per turn and pop off with that. So if you are under item lock, it can become a little annoying because you're not going to be able to play this, which guarantees your supporter. However, if you aren't under item lock, Team Rocket's Transceiver is so good. Just go back and remember all the times you've had to Ultra Ball for Lumineon to then grab a supporter and then pop off. Well, Team Rocket's Transceiver gets around that completely. You play the card and you get your A-Spec level of supporter from your deck. 2 copies of Earthen Vessel. We really want to see our energy cards as quick as we can in our deck. This is kind of like a turbo style deck, so the quicker we're drawing and seeing more cards in our deck, the better. We want those grass energies in the discard, so there are going to be times where we discard 1 grass energy to just get 2 more with the Earthen Vessel. Earthen Vessel is also just very important so we can get those important energy attachments per turn. We really want to be attaching energy every single turn that we can, so Earthen Vessel helps us get there. 2 copies of Night Stretcher. Night Stretcher is also very important because we do have one-off copies of some important Pokemon in our deck, like the Mimikyu or the Articuno. Sometimes we really need to get that grass energy attachment so we can get the grass energy that way. But Night Stretcher, I find in most cases, is the card that's going to get us our Spidops, so we can use our Spidops to then charge up and then start swinging. So Night Stretcher at 2 copies. Next up, we have Counter Catcher at 2 copies as well. We are often at times going to be behind because our opponent might take a easy knockout on something like a Tarountula. So having Counter Catcher is really, really powerful. And then our ace spec of choice for this deck is Secret Box. This card is super, super good because there is a supporter in this deck that you can actually play turn 1. So if you have Secret Box in your hand, you can just play it, grab that turn 1 supporter, also grab the Stadium, which also lets you draw 2 additional cards. You also can grab an item. We do have a bunch of tools in this deck too that we're going to use, so you can also grab those. Now, other than Secret Box, I've seen a lot of decks also play Maximum Belt just so that they can hit those even higher numbers. It's going to allow your Taruntulas, or your Spidops, I mean, to hit for 230, which is really, really good to hit. It also means your Mewtwo could, of course, hit for 330 as well. And I've also seen some builds play with Unfair Stamp too. Unfair Stamp seems pretty good, but this deck really wants to be more aggressive than reactive, so I find Secret Box is really, really ideal for this deck. Tools, we have 1 copy of Bravery Charm. It's always going to go essentially on our Mewtwo EX to make it even bigger and tankier. Then we also have 1 copy of Counter Gain. Counter Gain is also clutch, allowing our Mewtwo to attack for just 1 Team Rocket's energy, or of course, if you have your Spidops, you can charge up your Spidops and use Counter Gain to attack as well. Defiance Band is also very, very strong because we are able to get our numbers up higher than we typically would otherwise, so our Rocket's Mewtwo can hit for even higher numbers. It also means our Spidops can swing for 210 if we have a full board, or if we're lacking Pokemon on our bench, then Defiance Band is going to fulfill that extra Pokemon, essentially that additional 30 we wouldn't have otherwise. So Defiance Band at 2. So here is the first really, really strong supporter in the deck. We got Team Rocket's Proton. It says if you go first, you can actually play it on your first turn. And this says search your deck for 3 basic Team Rocket's Pokemon and reveal them, add them to your hand. So you're often going to grab at least a Rocket's Mewtwo since you can't Buddy-Buddy Poffin them out. And then you're going to grab your Spidops and start loading up your board with Pokemon. So very strong card, even into the mid to late game. Being able to grab your Rocket's Pokemon out of your deck is really useful, especially if you need to fulfill that attack requirement for Mewtwo, or if you need to set up important defensive Pokemon such as the Team Rocket's Articuno, or even the Mimikyu for a retreat pivot. And of course, if you do get additional basic Pokemon that you might not need, you can always just use it for discard fodder later on with something like an Ultra Ball or an Earthen Vessel. Next up is our main draw supporter in Team Rocket's deck. We got Team Rocket's Ariana. Draw cards until you have 5 cards in your hand, and if all your Pokemon in play are Team Rocket's Pokemon, which they are typically always Team Rocket's Pokemon since that's all we play in this deck, draw up to 8. So very strong draw supporter. And keep in mind, there's going to be a lot of times where we have this Team Rocket's factory on the board as well. Team Rocket's Ariana is essentially draw up until you have 10 cards in your hand, which is busted. Now, because we don't have onboard draw, and we have such a strong draw supporter in Ariana, it does become a double-edged sword, where the biggest weakness in this deck is if we do get hit with a very strong late game Iono, and our board isn't set up enough, that Iono can be game defining in the late stages and can often cause us to lose the game. So that's why we want to thin out our deck as much as we possibly can, so that the remaining cards in our deck, that when we do get Iono'd, we draw into them, are going to actually be something useful, you know, something we can play with. So we have 3 copies of Team Rocket's Ariana, 2 copies of Team Rocket's Giovanni. So you might notice we actually play no boss's orders in this deck at all. We have 2 copies of the Counter Gain, and that's because Team Rocket's Giovanni is essentially Prime Catcher on a supporter that we can easily search out with the help of Team Rocket's Transceiver. So it says here, switch your active Team Rocket's Pokemon with one of your bench Team Rocket's Pokemon. If you do, switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot. So Team Rocket's Prime Catcher right here, so good. Next up, we have Team Rocket's Unfair Stamp, aka Team Rocket's Archer. It has a stipulation here that you can only use this card if your Team Rocket's Pokemon was knocked out on the previous turn, and it says each player then shuffles their hand into their deck, you draw 5, your opponent draws 3, and of course we're going to combine that with our Team Rocket's factory, so we're in fact pretty much drawing 7 cards while your opponent gets reset down to 3. So we have 1 Team Rocket's Archer, and then we have 2 copies of Iono right here, just a very strong, consistent supporter that's great for late game disruption, but of course can also help us just see a whole bunch of new cards that we need to see that, you know, maybe our hand is so full that Team Rocket's Ariana can help us draw the cards we need, so Iono helps us reset our hand that way. This deck is a lot of fun, and if you want to play a fun turbo style beatdown style deck, Team Rocket's Mewtwo is really, really good, especially if you are going first. This deck just really gets to set up and pop off if you're going first. You might even want to consider running another copy of Team Rocket's Proton and bring it up to 3 copies, but again, we do have 4 copies of the Team Rocket's Transceiver, which is really, really good as well to just grab us that turn 1 Proton. Team Rocket's Mewtwo EX unfortunately is not an S tier or even an A tier deck. I would put this deck at a B tier deck at best, but of course we are able to have, you know, solid matchups into a lot of the current meta, and of course hit for weakness into decks that run Charizard and Grimmsnarl. Solid deck all around. It doesn't do anything amazingly, it's just a really strong, consistent beast. It does fall weak to Iono at times, but a lot of decks can also fall weak to Iono too. And we're of course finally getting to play with a more competitive Mewtwo EX. As you guys know, Mewtwo V-Star was not competitive at all by any means. It never saw any competitive play, so at least Team Rocket's Mewtwo EX has a fighting chance. Here's the full 60 card list if you guys want to screenshot it and use it for yourself. I'll also leave it in the description down below as well, and later in this week we're going to post some gameplay too rocking this deck. Now, if you guys want to see more Team Rocket's decks, I'll have Team Rocket's Crobat EX very soon and Team Rocket's Weezing as well on the channel, so subscribe and hit that like button so you don't miss out on those videos. If you made it to the end of the video, I'd love to hear what you think about Team Rocket's Mewtwo EX. How are you playing the deck? How does your deck look like? And what are your thoughts and opinions on this deck overall? Click on screen to hang out some more, and I'll catch you guys in another video. Peace!